When the ring was about to be worn to the end, Qi Yuxuan trembled all over and pulled the ring out suddenly. Amid the exclamations of the crowd, he rushed to the stage and knelt on one knee in front of Jiang Ruonian. "Nian Nian, I regret it. I don't want to marry a woman I don't love for money. Will you marry me?" Jiang Ruonian nodded with tears in her eyes and stretched out her left hand. After Qi Yuxuan put the ring on her finger, he solemnly kissed the back of her hand. Looking at this scene, I instantly understood that he was also reborn. In the previous life, the Qi family was on the verge of bankruptcy due to financial crisis, and took the initiative to propose a marriage to my family. I, who had always had a crush on Qi Yuxuan, readily agreed, although we were not sweet after marriage. We respected each other and supported each other for 60 years. He would give me gifts and prepare small surprises from time to time, and would also put down important work at hand to accompany me because of a phone call from me. I thought we had developed feelings for each other in these 60 years, until I accidentally opened the drawer of his desk when I was packing up, and a thick stack of letters jumped out. The recipients were all his first love, Jiang Ruonian. Each of these unsent letters contained a love poem, densely filled with his regret and love. "Nian Nian, I always dream of you every night. Dreaming of how happy we are after we get married. When I wake up and see that the person next to me is not you, I wish I could die and start over again. She always seems to remind me of my betrayal of you. I hate her touch and always find excuses to stay busy at the company to avoid her. I even secretly take medicine and don't want to leave blood with her." Seeing this, my breath stagnated. Because I like children very much, I have been actively preparing for pregnancy. He doesn't like sex, and I shamelessly beg him to do it once a month, and he is willing to touch me reluctantly on that day. He saw my efforts in his eyes, but he denied them all behind my back without saying a word. But later, I still got pregnant unexpectedly. No wonder he looked very surprised when I handed him the pregnancy test report. I turned the letter down tremblingly and opened it to continue reading. I didn't expect she was pregnant. Nian Nian, I was very hesitant and didn't know what to do. Until I accidentally discovered that you were pregnant when we separated. Nian Nian, you gave me a son. I'm so happy. I will find a way to abort Zhu Ya's child. Nian Nian, only you can give birth to my child. I collapsed to the ground helplessly, tears streaming down my face instantly. I had an accidental miscarriage at that time, and I thought I had accidentally eaten the wrong thing, and I was depressed for a while. He kept comforting me that I would have another child. Qi Yuxuan was so cruel. The rest of the letters were probably all sent out. The latest one was stamped but not sent out in time. I opened it and saw a check with no amount filled in it. It turned out that he had been in contact with Jiang Ruonian for 40 years without my knowledge, and the will that had just been signed and tucked in clearly mentioned that he and Jiang Ruonian should be buried together. When I came to my senses, Qi Yuxuan and Jiang Ruonian were already kissing each other. The guests present looked at me with strange eyes and whispered to each other. I heard that the groom agreed to the marriage, and it was all forced by the Zhu family. This Zhu Ya is so eager to pay for me, and she has to cling to me tightly. Isn't this obviously forcing a couple to break up? In the eyes of sarcasm and watching the play, I showed a generous and decent smile, walked off the stage and stuffed the bouquet into Jiang Ruonian's hands. "It just so happens that I don't want to get married, so I wish you a happy wedding." After saying that, I took off the veil and was about to leave the venue. Qi Yuxuan frowned and seemed to want to come forward to hold me, but he and Jiang Ruonian were surrounded by the crowd of people who were making noises, and finally failed to catch up. In my previous life, I gave up my life and tried my best to be Qi Yuxuan's good wife, but I never got a trace of his love. In this life, I fulfilled him and myself. I met Qi Yuxuan again at a class reunion 5 years later. When I finished the draft overnight, it was already dawn. I didn't have time to change my clothes that were stained with paint. I just put on a coat and rushed from the studio to the banquet hall. Amid the flattery, I saw Qi Yuxuan surrounded by the crowd. Jiang Ruonian leaned against him like a little bird, and everyone's eyes were full of envy. "Mr. Qi's life is really a cheat. In just 5 years, not only did he bring the Qi family, which should have gone bankrupt, back to life, But this year he also squeezed into the Fortune 500. People of our age can't catch up. That's right, any project that Mr. Chi likes, which one doesn't make a lot of money. Just look at the broken land on the outskirts of the city. No one was willing to accept it at a low price. Only Mr. Chi had a unique vision and was willing to take it. Who knew that not long after? The higher-ups issued a message saying that the new subway would pass by here, and the value of this land would at least increase 100 times. Everyone's eyes were red, and they rushed to toast Chi Yuxuan. Boss Chi, we are all old classmates. If you have any promising projects recently, please take us to play with us. Chi Yuxuan raised his chin with enjoyment, and looked at Jiang Ruonian beside him tenderly. I have been busy preparing for the engagement party with Nyan Nyan recently. When I have a good project in hand in a while, I will definitely take you with me. Everyone rushed forward to toast and congratulate, and Jiang Ruonian's sisters laughed and said, Boss Chi and Nyan Nyan are a match made in heaven. Since Boss Chi abandoned Ju Ya and Nyan Nyan in public and ran away from marriage, their careers have also flourished. On the other hand, Ju Ya, since she was abandoned and went home in disgrace, the entire Ju family has disappeared in City A. I just heard this when I entered the banquet hall, and I couldn't help but laugh. My family followed my advice and focused on overseas, which in their eyes turned out to be a failure of the Ju family. Many sharp-eyed classmates have seen me. Their eyes fell on my mottled clothes, and they raised their heads contemptuously. Ju Ya, why did you come just now? Look at your outfit. You were once a rich lady, but you didn't even wear a dress to attend the banquet. Hey! Didn't the Ju family really go bankrupt? You look like a beggar sleeping in a bridge hole. No matter how poor you are, you should dress decently. This is a high-end banquet hall sponsored by President Chi. It costs 10,000 yuan per hour. You are too cheap here. You have lowered the class. Jiang Ruonian's sisters were extremely mean. But no one came out to defend me. They were all watching the show. Now Chi Yuxuan is a new noble in their eyes, and I am the evil woman who forced him to marry before. They want to curry favor with Chi Yuxuan, so they are naturally happy to embarrass me. I ignored those disdainful looks and kept a decent smile. If they knew that the casual clothes I was wearing were enough to buy the banquet hall here, they would probably be shocked. Chi Yuxuan's eyes followed me closely, and his eyes were dark and unclear. He raised his chin slightly and said alms-givingly, Ju Ya, I haven't seen you for a few years. How can you live a more miserable life? For the sake of our past friendship, I can buy you a dress. I shook my head politely. No, this dress is quite comfortable to wear. He frowned when I rejected him, and his face seemed a little irritated. Jiang Ruonian saw this scene, gritted her teeth and glared at me, deliberately showing the diamond ring on her left ring finger, and took Chi Yuxuan's hand as if to swear sovereignty. Yuxuan, how can you say it so bluntly? No matter how miserable someone's life is, they still have self-esteem. You will be rejected if you say it directly. She pretended to be generous and looked at me with a smile. Ju Ya, if you hadn't forced Yuxuan to marry me, I wouldn't have thought that he would love me so much that he would break off the engagement. After this, our relationship has become more solid. Yuxuan also wants to thank you, and he has no other intentions. Please don't misunderstand, it's definitely too late to buy a dress now. I just happen to have one that I don't like and I'm going to throw it away. How about giving it to you? Before I opened my mouth, she said to herself, that's Dior's haute couture. You can't afford it now, right? Look at what you're wearing. You look like you came out of a beggar's den. How can a man like you if you're so sloppy? If you dress up well, you might even be able to catch a rich husband. There were a few sneers from the crowd. Jiang Ruonian was wearing all kinds of luxury brands, and her face was delicate and white, but I looked very haggard because I was painting all night, and my clothes were stained with paint here and there. I was really not comparable, but I didn't want to argue with them now. My stomach was fighting after working for a long time. No need. I think this dress is quite comfortable. After saying that, I ignored them, picked up the plate and picked up some food, and sat at the table to taste it carefully. Did Ju Ya come here to eat and drink for free? She was so embarrassed. Everyone looked at me with contempt, but at least I got a moment of peace. They were all busy trying to make connections, and no one took the initiative to find me. What I didn't expect was that Qi Yuxuan would take the initiative to walk towards me and put a pile of carefully selected food in front of me. "Yaya, these are your favorites, eat more." I glanced at the steak and black truffle chocolate he brought and couldn't help but feel funny. In the last life, I ate these because he loved them. In fact, my taste is more inclined to Chinese food. No, thank you. Qi Yuxuan grabbed my wrist unhappily. "Yaya, are you deliberately showing me your displeasure? Just because I didn't choose you in this life, in the last life, because the Qi family needed the Zhu family's funds, you always used this to control me. On the surface, you pretended to delegate power to me, but secretly told those directors not to listen to me. All the senior executives of the company looked down on me. Do you know how suffocating I am living?" I was stunned. I didn't expect Qi Yuxuan to say that. In the last life, because of his inferiority and sensitivity, I withdrew from the management and was willing to give up my dream to cook for him. I took the nutritionist certificate specifically for him, and I tried my best to match his 3 meals a day every day, silently supporting his career behind the scenes. I took care of him for 40 years, thinking he should understand my love, but he still cared about Jiang Ruonian until his death, and only questioned and hated me. I wanted to get up and walk away with a cold face. But Qi Yuxuan grabbed me and took out a check for 1 million from his pocket. "For the sake of our relationship in the last life, this money is my support for you. Go buy yourself a decent piece of clothing. How much do you have to live without me to live such a bad life?" I pushed the check back. And just as I was about to speak, he suddenly held my hand and stared at my collarbone. "Yaya, you can actually live the comfortable life you had before, as long as you continue to be with me." My stomach couldn't help but churn. I didn't expect that he would say such words to me right after he officially announced his engagement with Jiang Ruonian, asking me to be his lover. "Please respect yourself, Mr. Qi. You just got engaged and I'm married too. We should keep a distance from each other. Besides, it wasn't you who said you didn't love me and wanted to marry Jiang Ruonian. People should be responsible for their own choices." Qi Yuxuan's face turned pale when he heard what I said. "Marry? Who did you marry? Yaya, stop talking in anger. You want to get revenge on me by marrying someone else. I can give you love and money. Why do you care about a name?" I tore the check into pieces in front of him, and Qi Yuxuan's face suddenly darkened. Jiang Ruonian, who was not far away, noticed the movement here and came over with champagne. Seeing the pieces of the check on the table, he seemed to understand something. He looked at me with dark and angry eyes, and his fingers were almost scratched, but he had to pretend to be decent on his face. "Zhu Ya, we are kind enough to help you and you are still upset, just for that pitiful self-esteem. In that case, my parents are sick in the hospital and they are in need of a nurse to take care of their excrement and urine. I will give you 20,000 a month. This is a job opportunity that many people are scrambling to get. Don't miss it because you can't bring yourself to do it." Qi Yuxuan was also angry because of my frequent rejections and sneered at me. "With my current status and position, so many people beg me for help. Zhu Ya, you are really shameless. You deserve to die of poverty for the rest of your life." The classmates around also gathered around and echoed them. "That's right. Zhu Ya, people are kind enough to help you. What's your reaction? You don't even care about your face to get food and drink, and you come to the class reunion to embarrass yourself. Now why are you pretending to be noble?" Looking at their flattering appearance, I just felt extremely disappointed with the so-called class reunion. If I wasn't waiting for someone, I would have left long ago. Everyone was still denouncing me. When suddenly the hotel attendant came over with a small dining cart and took out several bottles of 1982 Lafitte, which immediately attracted all the attention. The attendant smiled politely. "This is a little gift specially prepared by Mr. Gu for everyone. He will come to visit in person after he is done with his work." Everyone immediately went wild. "Mr. Gu, is it the one I thought of? Gu Huichuan, the richest man in City A? It must be him. Otherwise who else can be so generous? Just these few bottles of wine cost several million, and he said he would give it to us." Someone in the crowd wondered. "But why did Mr. Gu suddenly send us wine? He is a person you can only see on the news at ordinary times." Jiang Ruonian's sisters immediately came forward flatteringly. Need I say more? In our place, only Mr. Chi has the status to be here, and they must be here for him. Mr. Chi, can you help us say a few good words to Mr. Gu later? We just want to get familiar with him. If such a big shot remembers him, we will have a bright future. Faced with the flattery of the crowd, Qi Yuxuan and Jiang Ruonian were puzzled, but they still raised their heads in a daze, thinking that Jiu Huichuan was here for them, and looked at me proudly. These are all small problems, but Ju Ya, you should not stay here and offend big shots if you are dressed like this. Yes, let's go, Mr. Gu is not someone you can meet. I raised the corners of my lips sarcastically, looking at the crowd who were clamoring for me to leave, and glanced at the clock without saying anything. Why are you still so shameless and not leaving? Jiang Ruonian was about to take the lead in coaxing me out, when the elevator opened and a man in a suit and leather shoes walked out. Everyone exclaimed, "It's Mr. Jiao Zhon, Mr. Gu's assistant." It is said that he was a trader who never lost on Wall Street. It is difficult to even meet him. It seems that the one who just sent me the wine is Mr. Gu. No one cared about me now, they all squeezed forward to curry favor with him. But Jiao Zhon walked straight towards me without even glancing at anyone around him. Jiang Ruonian thought Jiao Zhon was referring to her, so she shyly lifted her hair and said in a low voice, "Assistant Jiao, nice to meet you." I am, who knew that Jiao Zhon frowned, walked around her and walked towards me behind him, bowed respectfully, and handed me the coat in his hand. "Madam, the weather is so cold. Mr. Gu is worried about you, so he asked me to come down first to give you a coat, madam." The classmates present heard Jiao Zhon address me. Their eyes widened in shock and looked at me in disbelief. The hotel manager was also attracted by the noise and hurried forward to nod and bow to me. "Madam, why didn't you tell me in advance that you were attending a class reunion here? Mr. Gu was discussing the contract upstairs today, and I focused my attention there. I didn't mean to neglect you." He turned to the crowd and said, "Our hotel was bought by Mr. Gu as a birthday gift for Madam. You are all Madam's old classmates. If you have any requirements for meals and services, just let us know, we will do our best to meet them." Hearing this, everyone opened their mouths and their expressions froze on their faces. The few people who helped Jiang Ruonian mock me before were pale at this moment, and their hands were clenched into fists to control their trembling bodies. The classmates who had a good relationship with me before and kept silent before were overjoyed and excitedly walked up to talk to me. "Yaya, is this true? Your husband is actually the richest man Jiu Huichuan. How can this be false?" Assistant Gao and the hotel manager said that she must be the wife of the richest man who has always been protected and has never appeared in public. I still kept a polite smile and nodded lightly. Qi Yuxuan and Jiang Ruonian's faces lost color, and the goblets in their hands fell to the ground with a sharp sound. Jiang Ruonian could no longer hide the jealousy on her face, and stared at me as if she was about to spit fire. "How is it possible? How could you be Jiu Huichuan's wife? Mr. Gu's wife is an internationally famous painter. I saw her when she received an award abroad last time. It wasn't you at all." I shrugged helplessly. Huichuan was afraid that disclosing my identity would bring me trouble, so he never let me show up in public. "Since you went, didn't you hear what the organizer said? All my awards were received by my assistant Yingying." Jiang Ruonian bit her lips tightly, refusing to believe it, and tried desperately to refute me. And Qi Yuxuan also frowned, looking like he didn't believe it at all. "Ju Ya, how did you become like this now? You did everything you could to save the scene. How much money did you spend to invite these two to act with you? It's not because of this that you spent all your assets and became so destitute that you can't even afford a decent piece of clothing, right?" Jiao Zhon on the side couldn't listen anymore and pushed his glasses with a sneer. "Some people are really shallow-minded. Real luxury goods are not printed with logos. The woolen sweater on your body is made from the most precious cashmere plateau antelope, and it was woven by the top craftsman in Italy for half a year. All your clothes are only a fraction of this dress." After his sarcasm, Qi Yuxuan and Jiang Ruonian immediately covered the parts of their bodies with logos in embarrassment. Qi Yuxuan still didn't give up and yelled at me, "Impossible! How could the richest man be interested in the slut I abandoned?" And I remember that you don't know how to paint. How could you win the highest international award?" As soon as he finished speaking, Jiyu Huichuan walked out of the elevator behind him with a cold expression. "Who said Yaya is a slut? It's just that you don't know how to recognize a gem." He walked to my side, put his arm around my waist, and pursed his lips gently. "Wife, I'm late and you've been wronged. It's really Mr. Jiyu." The crowd was in an uproar. The students who had doubts before changed their expressions and came forward to greet me flatteringly. "Yaya, why didn't you tell me earlier that you were Mr. Gu's wife? We were misled by Qi Yuxuan and Jiang Ruonian before, which led to so many misunderstandings. We apologize to you for what happened just now. Please don't take it to heart. This group of people are essentially fence-sitters who curry favor with the powerful, now that they see that the situation is not right. Even Jiang Ruonian's good girlfriends come up to me, nodding and bowing to me with a wry smile. Look at Yaya, she's really classy, rich but low-key, unlike those two, who are like nouveau riche, without any taste, and can never pretend to be superior no matter how hard they try. That's right, I didn't expect Yaya to marry the richest man. Just now Jiang Ruonian humiliated her with a job worth 20,000 yuan, which is too funny. She is an internationally renowned painter. Pucci, I just saw Qi Yuxuan handing a check to Yaya in the corner, which is really ridiculous. Her husband is the richest man. How can she care about that? She thought her ex was not as good as herself, but she turned around and found a better and more outstanding man. It was only a few minutes, and after knowing my identity, the classmates went from uniting to sneer at me at the beginning to showing concern for me and caring for me. They all wanted to get familiar with me so that they could get the resources of me and Jiyu Huichuan. I felt hypocritical and ridiculous, but after all, we were classmates, so I just nodded in response. Seeing that I looked a little tired, Jiyu Huichuan was very considerate and tactfully persuaded them to leave. Jiang Ruonian tugged at Qi Yuxuan's sleeve, but he stood there and refused to leave. Jiyu Huichuan's eyes also fell on him, and he raised the corners of his lips sarcastically. "Are you Qi Yuxuan? I have to thank you for not getting married back then. Otherwise how could I meet such a good wife?" Hearing this, Qi Yuxuan's face turned pale. His lower lip was bitten, and red blood was faintly overflowing. He ignored Jiyu Huichuan's provocation and stared at me with complicated eyes, with a hint of collapse. "Yaya, you know I'm going to marry Jiang Ruonian, and you deliberately found an actor to anger me, right?" I stopped the frowning Jiyu Huichuan, shook my head, and motioned him to go out and wait for me first. He said nothing, nodded silently and went out, with complete respect and trust for me. After he left, I turned to look at Qi Yuxuan and showed him the diamond ring on my hand. "Do you think I have the ability to invite Jiyu Huichuan to act with me? Jiyu Huichuan and I have been married for 3 years, and I didn't marry him because I was angry with you. In addition, Qi Yuxuan, before I married you, I had been studying painting hard. Later, in order to take care of you and the Qi family wholeheartedly, I gave up painting. In this life, I don't need to worry so much and can paint wholeheartedly." Qi Yuxuan's eyes gradually changed from questioning, complicated, and finally to a gray and dead silence. "But Yaya, you said that you only love me. How can you break your oath and marry someone else?" I pursed my lips in silence. "Qi Yuxuan, is it necessary to mention these things in the past? Do we have to abide by the oaths of the last life in this life? First of all, there is nothing worth remembering in our past. I have seen the letters and wills you hid in the drawer. In this new life, we also tacitly chose to run away from marriage and live a life without intersection with each other. Don't you think it's ridiculous to say this now? Shouldn't you be happy that you can spend the rest of your life with your white moonlight? Why do you have to say these unrealistic words to me?" Qi Yuxuan rushed forward and shook my shoulders in a state of collapse. "Are you saying this now to completely clear off the things in your last life? I won't allow it. I chose to run away from marriage in this life because I can't stand that after the Qi family accepted your family's funding, I was inferior to others. Those directors all look down on me. They have to report my instructions to you and can only execute them after you agree. What do I need as the general manager for?" I shook my head in disappointment. "What are you talking about? In my last life, after I noticed your sensitivity and inferiority. I took the initiative to withdraw from the management and concentrate on cooking for you. You clearly saw all this, but you still suspect that I am two-faced. Right, if I really want to do this, I will transfer my shares to you. Qi Yuxuan's eyes widened, and he was at a loss. What did you say? When did you transfer your shares to me? You lied, I sighed. On your 30th birthday, you said that your wish was that I could put aside other things and accompany you wholeheartedly. So I took the initiative to leave the company and signed the share transfer agreement. Didn't your secretary tell you? Qi Yuxuan was stunned, and his tone was trembling. Nyan Nyan never told me that what she gave me that day was clearly a will, which stated that after your death, all your property would be included in the company's public account, and not a cent would be given to me. At that time, I felt that you had always looked down on me and never really loved me. You would rather donate all your property to the company than leave me a cent. Moreover, the group of old men on the board of directors clearly didn't listen to me. If the final discovery in the previous life made me feel painful and disappointed, the conversation in this life undoubtedly made me completely despair of this relationship. When have I ever lied to you? There were times when the directors disagreed with you, but didn't they all follow your plan in the end? They were just considering the issue from the company's perspective. Qi Yuxuan, we have lived together for 60 years. I thought that even if you didn't love me, you would at least understand me after such a long time together. But today, it seems that my 60 years of hard work are just a self-touching joke. I have dedicated everything I have to you, but you completely denied me just because of someone else's casual words and a false certificate. Don't you think it's ridiculous? Qi Yuxuan's eyes were sluggish, as if he remembered many things in his previous life, and tears were faintly overflowing from his eyes. I turned around and planned to leave. As soon as I took a step, he rushed forward and grabbed my sleeve. I turned back and met his red eyes. Yaya, do you still love me? I shook my head firmly without hesitation. I did love you in my last life, but I've let it go in my new life. I only love my husband now. Qi Yuxuan seemed to have suffered a great blow and retreated again and again. Impossible, impossible. How could you fall in love with someone else? In fact, I originally thought that after the trauma of my last life, I would not accept anyone again, until I met Jiyu Huichuan. The weather was very good that day. I was sketching in Vienna, and he happened to pass by me and stopped in front of my drawing board. The painting is very good, but I looked up in surprise. I didn't expect to meet a Chinese here, and he took the initiative to talk to me. This aroused my interest, so I asked him if he had any questions. This painting lacks a bit of brilliance. He picked up the brush and added a few rays of warm yellow sunlight on the top, and the whole picture changed from gray to a warm yellow. At that time, I didn't know he was the richest man. I just regarded him as a close friend in a foreign country. He liked my paintings very much. Every time I was sketching, he would give me suggestions and understand my unique metaphors. Gradually, we became good friends who talked about everything. Until 3 months later, I had to return to City A to participate in the selection of the Jinming Award. Because of the sudden schedule, I didn't have time to see him for the last time. I found out that we didn't even have contact information. I thought this fate was over, but I didn't expect that he was the organizer of the Jinming Award. The moment he saw me again, he rushed forward excitedly, but in the end he just shook hands with me restrainedly. Since then, Jiyu Huichuan has pursued me fiercely. I asked him why he chose me. He said, "Actually, I loved painting when I was a child, but due to pressure from my family, I had to give up and study economics. Yaya, I seem to see my free self in you, and I can always find resonance in your paintings. The painful experience in the last life made me dare not believe in love easily, but Jiyu Huichuan proved with his actions that true love can stand the test of time." I smiled at Qi Yuxuan. 3 years ago, when he and I were skiing in the snowy mountains, we encountered an avalanche. His first reaction was not to run away, but to protect me tightly under his body. Fortunately, the rescue team arrived in time. Qi Yuxuan, his love for me can even transcend life. I don't think it takes much effort to fall in love with such a person. Moreover, many people questioned that I was with him for money and advised him to sign a prenuptial agreement. But Huichuan trusted me completely and even transferred more than half of the shares to me despite everyone's opposition. He said that this was the sense of security he gave me. Hearing these words, Qi Yuxuan's eyes were red and he stepped forward to grab my hand. Yaya, if it weren't for those misunderstandings, we could have loved each other like this. I pursed my lips and pried open his fingers one by one. No, we won't. I wasted 60 years for you in my last life. And in the end you still doubted and hated me. Qi Yuxuan, don't you think it's ridiculous to say this now? You just see that I have found a new home and am living a good life, and you are unwilling to accept it. You don't love me at all. I turned around and walked out regardless of his deathly pale face. Jiyu Huichuan stood outside the car door. When he saw me come out, he untied the scarf around his neck and put it on me. Wife, it's cold outside. The scarf is warm for you. Let's go home after we finish talking. Qi Yuxuan was originally following behind, perhaps wanting to see his ugly face because of suspicion, but Jiyu Huichuan didn't ask at all. He was completely dead now, and seemed to understand the gap between himself and others, and didn't catch up again. My heart was also more relaxed than ever before, and I completely let go of the things in my last life. Now I have a career I love and a husband who loves and respects me. I finally have happiness in my new life. A month later, I was watching the financial channel with Jiyu Huichuan, but I saw Qi Yuxuan's company explode. The cause was an accident in the amusement park he was responsible for building. When several children were riding on a pirate ship, the hull suddenly fell, causing 5 deaths and 7 injuries. Because of the bad impact of the incident, the superiors sent someone to investigate. It turned out that most of the projects he did cut corners to save costs, and most of the facilities in the amusement park built before did not meet the standards. After this incident, Qi Yuxuan's company's stock price plummeted, from a Fortune 500 company to the brink of bankruptcy overnight. I am not surprised by this result. In his previous life, his plans were always rejected by the board of directors because he only had interests in his eyes and would do anything to earn revenue. However, because of the restraint of the board of directors, he did not make a big mistake in this life. He firmly holds the shares of the entire company in his own hands. His company is almost a one-man show. Even if someone opposes, the effect is minimal, which is why the projects frequently explode. I didn't pay much attention to it, but I didn't expect Qi Yuxuan to come to me on his own initiative. In just over 2 months, he had changed drastically. I couldn't find the shadow of the young and ambitious president in him, because he had no time to take care of himself. His hair was almost covering his eyes, and his beard was crooked on his face. He was wearing grey old clothes, and he was always exquisite, and even half of his cufflinks fell off as soon as he saw me. His eyes lit up and he rushed forward excitedly. Yaya, Jiang Ruonian, this bitch, I trusted her wrongly. In my previous life and this life, she swallowed 1/3 of the funds I allocated to the project, which led to the accident. Only then did I understand my true feelings. You must still love me, right? Please help me. After getting through this difficult time, I will make up for the mistakes I made in my previous life. I frowned irritably and signaled the bodyguard to come forward and pull him away. Qi Yuxuan, I think I have made it very clear at the class reunion. We are strangers in this life. Please stop saying these ridiculous things and stop disturbing my life. He may regard me as the last straw. Even when the bodyguard pulled him away, he still struggled to flutter to my side. Yaya, I know you are angry and said this. The 15th of this month is the wedding date of Jiang Ruonian and I, if you want, I can abandon her in public at the wedding to vent your anger. Seeing that I had no expression on his face, he knelt directly on the ground. Please, Yaya, even if you don't love me anymore, please help me once for the sake of our last life. I laughed at his shamelessness. Qi Yuxuan, what kind of relationship did we have in our last life? Did you drug me and cause me to have a miscarriage, or did you raise Jiang Ruonian for so many years without telling me? I can't help you. If you still have self-esteem, leave as soon as possible. He looked at my resolute expression, and tears fell down. Didn't you say you only love me? How could you marry someone else? No, I couldn't help but laugh when I heard this. How could a person have so many chances to start over? I didn't take it seriously. Just last month, I found out I was pregnant. Jiu Huichuan was going to take me to Switzerland for recuperation. I was rushing home to pack my luggage. But I didn't expect that this would be the last time I saw Qiyuxuan. I saw him again on the news. The video was at the wedding scene. He stabbed Jiang Ruonian with a knife crazily. If it weren't for you, how could I have nothing? He was arrested for intentional homicide and was found dead in prison not long after. It is said that when he died, he was still muttering, "I want to start over with Yaya," but I think he probably doesn't have a chance to start over again, because this time, "I will spend a long and happy life with my husband who loves me and my unborn child."